My name is Ricco Siasoco, and I'm originally from Council Bluffs, Iowa, but I've lived in Boston for the past 20 years. The story I wanted to tell, I'm a faculty member at Boston College, and I usually bring a group of about 10 to 15 undergraduates to parts of Africa every summer. Obviously, attitudes are very different and over there in countries in Africa, as opposed to here where we talk about sexuality very openly, and either people who are anti-gay or pro-gay, we have discussions about it. So before we went to Uganda and Rwanda, we would meet every week. And one week we talked about sexuality and gender. So I talked to my students about how, because of laws there, like the Kill the Gays bill that was happening in Uganda at the time, that I didn't necessarily feel comfortable about always being open about my sexuality. It's as much of an interesting point of conversation for them as it was for me to kind of say, I might not always say my partner, or when people ask me why I'm not married, I might just be a little bit vague about that. So one of the surprising things is when I get off the airplane, and because I've been there 3 times now, I know what to expect. And at the gate at the airport in Ghana, there's a big sign next to the customs that says, if you are homosexual, you are not welcome in this country. And what I was thinking about is the second or third time I wanted to stop and take a picture of the sign, but I also didn't want to get arrested or draw attention to myself. So it's this weird meta looking at yourself like, should I take the picture of the anti-homosexual sign or not? So when we ended up going to Uganda, often, like, we were working in an orphanage, and the orphans would ask us, you know, who's married and why aren't you married? I was often vague about it. I remember one night, 2 of the students, they were talking to our driver, and he was Ugandan, and he had very strong anti-gay views. And they were, you know, we'd been there for 3 or 4 days at that point, so they actually were engaging him, and he wanted to talk about it. So I remember eavesdropping and really being interested in how they were going to talk about it to our driver. And that was a moment when I thought this would be a good place for them to say, well, Ricco is gay, and, you know, how does that affect his life? And so they never outed me, but I remember that was a moment when I wanted to sort of be out to them. Unfortunately, I never came out in Uganda, but about 4 months later, I took another group of students to Ghana, and there I ended up coming out to people that I trusted, and I didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable, which is a little bit like you feel when you first come out, and I've been out for 20 years, but I didn't want to make the Ghanaians I talked to uncomfortable or have to. The certain laws in some of the countries say if you know somebody who's gay and you don't tell the government, then you are just as culpable. So I didn't want to make other people feel uncomfortable, but I think more than that, it was my level of comfort in sort of being out. So one of the co-teachers in Ghana, Sir Nat, asked me why I wasn't married, and I told him it's because I lived with my partner. And we had a really great conversation. He told me some of his friends at university were gay, which was a surprise to me as being Ghanaian. So it was just a nice conversation, and sort of surprising to me. We can both learn about each other.